I was going to say like a proper YouTuber intro where I'm like, welcome back guys, but this is my first video, so there are no guys to welcome back. This is the first video that I'm hoping to make a series, crafting and cryptids. I don't know what that was. My name's Stacey, aka Dolls and Pop, aka Nick's Obsidian. And I am an artist who loves myths, monsters, urban legends and cryptids. And I am here to share my love of those things with you. I am a huge fan of Bailey Sarian. I mean, like, who isn't? And she inspired me to make my own videos, except I haven't got as good a face and as good makeup skills as her, so I decided to do something else instead. I decided to do some art stuff for you to watch while I dive deep into the tales of the unknown. I do lots of different crafts. I do... oh, I don't know whether I've got enough fingers. I do doll making, crochet, sculpting, drawing, painting, jewellery making, that's one, resin. Basically, if you can craft it, I'll have a go. Today though, since it's my first video, I thought I'd keep it short and simple, and I decided that I'm just going to do a drawing with normal standard ink pens and coloured pencils. Just something to do, isn't it? Please make sure... oh yeah, I made this. Look, it's a necklace. You can't see it. I wish you could see it, but it's a knuckle dusters with little skulls and roses. I like to call it enjoy your siesta, bitch. Make sure that you stay tuned for the end of the video, because I'm going to show you some of my current work in progress projects, and you guys can help me decide on what to work on next. So next time I'll tell a story and I'll do something else. And sometimes the projects might run over into a couple of videos, because sometimes I do really big projects like painting reborn dolls, and that takes weeks. Weeks and weeks and weeks. Today I want to tell you one of my favourite local stories of a horrific cryptid that terrorised a local village in the northwest of the UK. That's where I live. I find this story particularly interesting because after the local council put out a reward, they actually caught it. Like, it turned out to be real. Like, it was an actual real thing. And I'm drawing that thing, so I mean, you probably still won't even be able to guess what it is. Even when I'm finished drawing it, you're going to be like, that looks weird. But trust me, it's a thing. So let's jump right into today's tale. The Girt Dog of Ennerdale. Now, I don't really know what girt means, so I looked it up, and apparently it's just a really old word for girth. So it's the girthy dog of Ennerdale, which doesn't sound right, but it was also known as the demon dog of Ennerdale and the vampire dog of Ennerdale. Spooky. Also, I'm not entirely sure on the pronunciation. I think it's Girt, but I'm from the area, so it's probably more like Girt. The Girt dog of Ennerdale. Girt. Sorry about that. You've got to get a lot of faces and a lot of weird voices, and you're just going to have to deal with it. Ennerdale in Cumbria, northwest UK, has nothing to do with the TV show Emmerdale. That's about a farm. This place had a lot of farms, still does have a lot of farms, but it's not Emmerdale. I've driven through Ennerdale probably quite a lot actually, and it's a really small village surrounded, it's in a valley, it's a really small village in a valley, and it's surrounded by lots of open pastures with grazing sheep, and it's very nice. I think there's a post office, I think there's a pub, and that's all you need to live in Britain. Post office and a pub. You good? The year was 1810 and farming was a big business in the lush green valley. It was a beautiful spring day on May the 10th when a man observed a strange dog-like creature, and not long after that, livestock began to show up with their organs gone and their corpses exsanguinated. That means that they took the blood, all the blood. Many of the corpses had been drained of blood, and it looked as if the creature had drained the blood straight from the jugular vein on the neck, which is how it got the name, the vampire dog of Ennerdale. I know. The locals knew that it was a dog-like creature because it had actually been sighted quite a few times, though the eyewitness accounts differed wildly. The majority agreed that it was some crossbreed of mongrel dog that had escaped from a travelling community, though one or two men who had had close encounters with the beast described it as looking more like a lion or a tiger. That could just be people pub talking with the mates, though, couldn't it? Like, you can imagine it, this guy walks into the pub, piss all down his trousers, and his mate's like, what happened to you? And he was like, oh, well, I was walking and the goat dog got me, and it was like 9 feet tall, and it had eyes that glowed, were like red, and everybody would have been like, oh. And they wouldn't have took the mickey out of him then, would they? Probably just made it up to, who knows why people make stuff up. The majority of the eyewitness accounts agreed that the dog was quite large, about mastiff size. It was a tan colour and it appeared to have stripes, which, you know, I can think of some dog breeds that look like that. But they all knew that there was just something not quite right about it. They described it as being halfway between a dog and a cat. So its violent killings began to happen nightly, so everybody in the area was on the lookout for the goat dog. A few people managed to shoot it, but it didn't seem to affect it at all, and it was really difficult to track because the hunting dogs would just run. As soon as they smelled it, they were just like, no thank you, no, not dying today. And it never made a sound, it never called out like most animals do. They do mating calls and etc, but never known to make a sound. So they were having a lot of trouble tracking it because it had stripes, it was good at camouflaging, it was coming out mostly at night time. Didn't like the dogs didn't like it, you know, and the shots that were fired either were taken by stormtroopers because they all missed, or it just didn't bother it. So how were they going to get the goat dog under control? It was killing all of the sheep, and back then farming was like really big business. They couldn't just like go off and buy 1,000 sheep, you know. Prices were obviously different back then, and livestock was much more valuable, so they really needed to do something about it, and they needed to do it fast. So the farmers were obviously, understandably, big mad, so they got wanted posters drawn up and they posted them like all over the country, like everywhere. They just wanted the best hunters to come track down the dog, kill it, and everybody's life would be like considerably better. Probably would have still died of dysentery, but would have been better without the dead sheep. The local authorities had put a bounty of £100 on the goat dog's head. Now, probably doesn't sound a lot to me and you right now, but this is in the 1800s, so the money was, you know, considerably more. In fact, let's have a look, shall we? That'd be £8,247.20p. Just to shoot a wild dog. Like, £8,000. I would shoot a dog for £8,000. I mean, I probably wouldn't because I know the ending of the story, you know, hindsight and all that. Hunters from all over the country flocked to Ennerdale because why wouldn't they with that kind of reward? Best hunters, the best marksmen, the best teams of hounds, everybody and their dog literally came to Ennerdale and they started tracking the Gert dog every single day. Quite a lot of them got a few shots in, but again, didn't seem to slow it down. It was just too fast for them. It was like Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. They just, meep meep, off it goes. Well, it didn't make a noise so it didn't go meep meep. On one occasion, the hounds picked up the scent and they were hot on the Gert dog's trail. But as they got close to it, well, it killed one of the dogs. It just chomped it in half, which led all of the hunters to believe that it must have had massive jaws because it just crushed the front half of the dog, which R.I.P. poor little doggo. And I imagine that was quite the deterrent for the rest of the hounds. I'm not going to go and do that. Charlie just got bit in half. One guy managed to shoot the Gert dog like 3 or 4 times and it didn't even slow it down, like not even a bit. It was like, tis but a flesh wound. No, it just carried on running. My favourite account of the hunting though has to be on a Sunday morning. The hounds were once again hot on the Gert dog's trail and all the men on the horses and whatever were following along. Massive hunt going on. And the hunt actually went through the grounds of the local church and all of the men in the church got the guns and joined in the hunt. They just ran out of the church, joined the crowd. But the best part is that the pastor also did that. Like, and I hope he had a gun underneath his cassock. Just be like, it's time to deliver some justice. Over a 6-month period, the demon dog slaughtered about 400 sheep. R.I.P. sheep. The locals were beginning to get really alarmed because it was evading all of the traps that had laid out for it. They put traps down, they put poisons down, and they were hunting it, and they still couldn't catch it. In fact, they had to stop with the traps and the poisons because they were killing their own pets, which is, you know, and it'd been going on for so long that they simply couldn't keep up anymore. And they were thinking, oh my god, is this it? Are we just going to be terrorised by this forever? Like, finally though, a team of hunters managed to track the Gert dog down one night to a small wooded area that it seemed impossible to escape from. They had the Gert dog cornered, but it was so weird looking, so scary looking, that one of the hunters just peed his pants with fear and let it run right past him. Like, what a pussy. Like, oh, I expected it, but oh, can't do that. This was still the Gert dog's last stand though. Even though it managed to dart past one of the hunters, it was still shot and wounded. It jumped into the nearby river in a last-bid attempt to save itself, but one man managed to deliver the killing blow. That guy was called John Steele, for anybody who cares. So the hunters finally recovered the carcass and they were at last able to get a good look at the Gert dog and, you know, what was this creature that had been terrorising them for like the best part of a year. And they still didn't know what it was. They were like, that's a weird looking dog. Its body was paraded around the village, which is a bit sick, but you know, they were celebrating. They thought that was how to sell. They made a Gert dog flag out with the real Gert dog. I don't know. But they paraded it around town and everyone was like, well done. Well done. It actually weighed 8 stone. Like, so, you know, big old thing. It was then stuffed and mounted and put on display, which, you know, that's a standard hunter thing, isn't it? That's just what they do. It was then put on display in the Keswick Museum and Art Gallery. And it remained there until the 1950s, when one of the curators thought, that's getting a bit That's more holes than taxidermy. And they decided it was too mothy and raggedy, and they just, I don't know, do they throw them away? Do they just lock them somewhere to rot, or what do they do and stuff? I don't know. So, what was the great dog of Ennerdale? What was it? It was a thing, they caught it, they had it on display, and that is the weird part, right? Because the great dog of Ennerdale, actually, they found out later on that it was a Tasmanian tiger, which is a species of animal that is now like completely extinct because humans are dickheads. They think that it escaped from a travelling circus and it's somehow just found itself in the middle of the northwest rainiest part of Britain, and it must have sucked. There's not a lot of evidence, videos, photos, you know, that clearly depict the Tasmanian tiger. There are a few, and you know, I can kind of tell why they were scared, because it is pretty weird looking. It does kind of look like a tiger crossed with a dog. Like, look at it. And it can do the freakiest thing. Like, it can open its mouth like that. Like, you know what a snake does? Look at this picture here. Like, if you saw a dog, or you thought it was a dog, and then all of a sudden its jaw unhinged and it started doing like a predator, you would cack your kegs. You'd never sleep again, that's for sure. So you can understand, and that is how it managed to crush the hounds, because its jaws were just huge and probably very powerful. You know, they weren't massive, but you know, dogs can deliver a pretty nasty bite. So I reckon that like a tiger dog thing could do probably 10, 100 times worse. It is kind of sad that it was an endangered species and it got shot and it died and that. But it is a cool little story. It's a cool, quirky little story from an area of the country that's, you know, kind of seen as sleepy and maybe a tad boring at times. But it has that cool and unusual story that it's going down in history. People still know about it and talk about it to this day. And I hope that you enjoyed the story, and I hope that you enjoyed my little drawing. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be really cool if like you could subscribe, give it a bit of a like, let me know if I should make some more, because boy, let me tell you, we live in a weird world with all sorts of weird creatures, and I do a lot of art, so you know, moulding, meshing the two together. Speaking of art, I have loads of different projects that are currently like a work in progress. They're all at different stages, and I would like to show them to you now, and you guys can help me decide on which one I will do in a future video with a different story about something else that's weird or paranormal, or you know, just straight up kooky in the world, like the weird thing. So here are some of my projects, and I just wanted to leave a comment of which one you'd like to see me complete next. Pow, pow, pow. Gothic Russian nesting dolls. Frog lady doll. Me doll. Reborn makeover. Crocheted doll. A painting of my cat as a tarot card reader. Pretty cool. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I really hope that you liked my first video, and I really hope that I can do more, entertain you, and make many more interesting stories and many more interesting noises. You can also see my art on my website. You can also support my spooky occult stuff over on sospoiled.com. Also, feel free to leave me like clues and leads to other stories that you'd like to see me cover in future episodes. I mean, I already have so many that I want to do, but it's hard to choose. So, you know, if you have a suggestion, by all means suggest it. I don't really want to do anything that's like, you know, too overdone. Like, I will, but you know, Nessie, why would you talk about Nessie when we've got Bo Nessie? Bet you never heard of that one. Aliens, ghosts, anything paranormal, haunted places. I love that shit. Thrive off that shit. And if you're here, then you thrive off it too. So let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's start some weekly stories. Gonna do some art. Gonna do some talking. I've got massive anxiety, so you know, this is huge. Did it all without having a seizure. Hey. So I really hope that you got to join me in the future, because I'm going to be sat here being weird whether you're here or not. So I may as well do it and you may as well get some enjoyment from it. I certainly do. Thank you everyone. Goodbye, and I will see you later.